This video is brought to you by Squarespace. A lot can change in 24 hours. On July 10th, 2022, actress Beanie Feldstein posted this cryptic image to her Instagram, saying that due to the Broadway revival of Funny Girl taking a different direction, she'd be walking away from the production a month before her contract was set to end. A contract that had already been cut down from a year to 6 months.
In today's Broadway and Beyond, a sudden departure for a Broadway star.
Beanie Feldstein is departing Funny Girl earlier than expected.
We've reached out to the show's producers for comment. We haven't heard back, but in a social media post, they did tease what they called an exciting cast announcement later today.
Less than 24 hours after this post, it was revealed that Feldstein's understudy, Julie Benko, would perform the remainder of Feldstein's contract until Glee actress, Lea Michele, took over the role in September. And this is where things get messy. Just 10 days before Feldstein's Instagram post, the website Gawker leaked reports that producers actually wanted to replace her with Michele due to a series of scathing reviews directed towards Feldstein. Michele's casting, coupled with disturbing allegations of abuse directed towards her, rubbed people the wrong way, with many viewing it as the industry rewarding toxic behavior. With each day that passed, an already stressful situation kept getting worse. After poring over reports, financial documents, old articles, and conducting a few interviews, believe me when I say that this story goes much deeper than just one Instagram post. This is the culmination of a producing team at odds with each other, a leading lady facing unprecedented backlash, and a clear demonstration of the ruthlessness of the theater industry. This is an investigation of what led to the 24 hours that morphed an under-the-radar musical into one of the most controversial Broadway scandals in recent memory. All to answer the question, where does the line blur between economics and ethics? Now, before we start our journey into this deep dive, I want to give a big thank you to this video's sponsor, Squarespace. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Squarespace does websites like no one else, making it easy for artists and creators to share their personality with the world. Now, it's still a work in progress, but I'm finally getting the official Wait in the Wings website up and running with a sleek, modern design that I can only get from Squarespace. Whether you're a blogger, a painter, a chef, or maybe you're a gossip columnist, you can get your dream site up and running in no time without the end product looking cheap. So go to squarespace.com/waitinthewings and use code WAITINTHEWINGS to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. So a lot's happened this week. From Vox to Vulture to Daily Mail, left, right, center, sideways, downways, every day has been this chaotic orchestra of sensational reports from an industry that has been waiting for a controversy this big since 2012's Rebecca. Now, that being said, there's still a lot happening right now involving this that you, me, and Vulture won't know about for another year at the least. But seeing how many rumors are flying around, I'm making sure to only include documented information that I've found. The goal of today is to cut through the media noise and try to document this story the best we can. And in order to do that, we need some context.
What you doing, Snooks? I've been reading books. Well, put your books away.
This is a scene from the 1938 movie Everybody Sing. On the left is someone you probably recognize, film legend Judy Garland. But our story is actually about the woman on the right, Fanny Brice. Over the course of her 40-plus year career, Brice flipped the script on what it meant to be a leading lady, and thanks to her comedic versatility, went on to become one of the highest-paid comedians in the country. Brice knew that if she couldn't be the prettiest girl on the stage, she was going to be the funniest. Brice's unapologetic ambition and defiance of the male-dominated industry helped her smash through this glass ceiling, and in many ways paved the way for other female Jewish performers to be themselves on stage. In 1964, 13 years after Bryce's passing, her life story was turned into a Broadway musical. While the musical itself received pretty lackluster reviews, the one standout was the breakthrough performance by newcomer Barbra Streisand. 3 years after this, Streisand again stepped into the role of Bryce in the film version of the musical, and it propelled the actress to superstardom. Given the Streisand factor and a particularly weak book, the prospect of the stage musical getting a proper Broadway revival seemed really unlikely. That is until 2014, when it was revealed in an Entertainment Weekly article that Glee creator Ryan Murphy purchased the rights to the musical. If you owned a television in 2009, chances are you knew of Glee. The story of a group of misfits in a failing Glee club was inescapable, resulting in nearly every school bus in America blasting Don't Stop Believing at one point or another. An actress named Lea Michele gave a performance in the 2006 musical Spring Awakening that essentially started her ascension to fame. But she left the show in 2009 to join Glee. Being a huge fan of Streisand, and especially the movie Funny Girl, show creator Ryan Murphy introduced Michele to the film early in season 1. By the end of the show's run in 2015, Lea Michele and Funny Girl were basically one and the same. Considering that Murphy owned the rights, and that Michele performed 6 songs from the musical over the span of 4 years, if ever there was a time for the show to be revived on Broadway, this seemed to be it. The following October, Lea Michele appeared on Watch What Happens Live, and affirmed her willingness to do the project, with Murphy and herself having met with a fabulous potential director for the show. But around the same time, Ryan Murphy admitted that since they'd performed so many of the songs already on Glee, he felt like they'd basically done a revival in some way. But Lea Michele's fight to star in a Broadway revival of Funny Girl persisted. 2 years after Glee's final episode in 2017, Michele performed 9 songs from the show during a concert in Central Park, at which point she told Ryan Murphy the only way she'd want to go back to Broadway was if she was starring in a revival of Funny Girl. The problem was, Murphy no longer held the stage rights. A producer named Sonia Friedman was now in possession, and her 2015 West End revival sold out its entire run in a single day. The musical featured a revised book by Tony winner Harvey Fierstein, and direction by Michael Mayer, Lea Michele's original director for Spring Awakening. The next year, talks began to swirl of the production finally transferring to Broadway. Initial rumors pegged Lady Gaga and Rosie O'Donnell to play Fanny Brice and her mother, respectively. By 2020, countless other leading ladies were in the running to take on the role of Fanny, but seemingly absent from that conversation was Lea Michele.
In my experience, she has been the same person in every scenario.
This is Chris Peterson. He's the founder of Onstage Blog.
There are former cast members of Spring Awakening who have come out and said that she was not pleasant to work with. She came out and did this whole thing about George Floyd and about being understanding towards one another. And Amber Riley, Heather Morris, like the people that were working directly with her in the casts of Glee, who basically said, you were not kind to anybody. You said terrible things. Rightfully so. People, including myself, are saying, what have you learned to be a productive and professional and kind part of an ensemble? Because that's not your reputation. We've never seen that happen before. What are you going to do now?
1 year later, in August of 2021, it was announced that the Funny Girl revival was officially moving to Broadway with an unexpected star, Beanie Feldstein. Much like Lea Michele, Feldstein also held a deep connection to Funny Girl, going so far as dressing up as Fanny Brice for her Funny Girl-themed 3rd birthday party. Feldstein made a name for herself in the film world, portraying strong comedic roles in movies like Booksmart, and made her Broadway debut as Minnie Fay in the 2017 revival of Hello, Dolly. Funny Girl would be Feldstein's first leading role on Broadway. But soon after the announcement, Feldstein wasn't the only person trending on Twitter. Considering how integral Fanny Brice was to Lea Michele's character on Glee, the reactions from Twitter became less centered on Feldstein's casting and more so on Michele getting passed over. Casting Feldstein was certainly a risk for the producers, with the vocal demands of the original Funny Girl score being some of the most difficult in theater history. But as far as the director and the producers saw it, so was casting an unknown Barbra Streisand in 1964. As director Michael Mayer put it in an interview with Vogue, it felt like a good idea to find someone Jewish, who could sing, dance, and act. You can't do a revival without a star, so we had to consider, is Beanie enough of a star? We'll find out, but I think so. That October, a teaser trailer offered the public its first look at Feldstein in full Fanny Brice attire. Initially, the trailer got a positive reception, but soon a pocket of comments became cynical. Writer Meg Masserin detailed the backlash in an article for American Theater, stating that immediately a barrage of tweets rolled in arguing against the celebration of the representation Feldstein's casting provided, and striving to dismiss the enthusiasm many self-identifying fat women had shared. Many were thrilled about Feldstein's casting, not only because she appeared perfect for the role, but also because it represented a change of pace from what the traditional leading lady looked like, featuring a plus-sized woman in the lead role. Come November, director Michael Mayer got a round of drinks with a former Spring Awakening castmate, Lea Michele. Michele later stated on the Growing Up Broadway podcast,
you know, there's been so much of talk about me coming to Broadway and not coming to Broadway. Listen, I am so unbelievably excited to see Funny Girl on Broadway, and I just think that Beanie is an incredible choice.
In another attempt to show good faith towards the casting decision, Michele commented on Feldstein's Instagram announcement, "Yes, you are the greatest star. This is going to be epic." However, any possible ill will between the two went unnoticed by Beanie Feldstein.
I didn't know that any of this was happening, by the way, and all of a sudden people started explaining it to me, and I was like, wait, what? I don't even I don't follow any, I didn't understand. But she very sweetly wrote on my Instagram. I don't know the woman whatsoever, but
oh, that's nice. Oh, good. Well, I love this. That's good.
As January of 2022 rolled around, Feldstein spent the entirety of the month barricaded in her parents' home in the Berkshires, taking voice lessons over Zoom, doing workout videos, and even taking online clown classes. Feldstein already faced an uphill battle by having to compete with the powerful original performance of Barbra Streisand. It also didn't help that original composer Jules Stein basically wrote the score specifically around the strength of Streisand's one-of-a-kind voice. The public got its first real taste of Beanie Feldstein's take on Fanny Brice with a short rehearsal snippet released just 2 days before the show started previews. And many people in the comment section weren't completely won over by her singing. Soon, the mixed reaction to Feldstein grew even louder, and eventually, the valid criticism of her performance morphed into numerous uncalled-for attacks on her weight. Studying sociology in college, Feldstein found she only felt free after she stopped caring about what society deemed as the ideal body. But all of that changed during her run in Hello, Dolly, where she lost nearly half of her weight due to the intense choreography. Feldstein went on to write, "When everyone started telling me I looked smaller, I lost my beautiful mindset that took decades to find. All I'm saying is I don't want anyone to feel that a change in appearance is an open invitation to comment on someone's body." But once again, society was doing just that. While the reception from the comment section was less than stellar, things only got worse after opening night. Much like the original production, the show was dragged through the mud from top to bottom. Only this time, instead of having the lead actress being a saving grace for critics, she was turned into a punching bag. Jessie Green, The New York Times. You root for her to raise the roof, but she only bumps against it. Adrienne Horton, The Guardian. This musical features some full tilt belting, and her singing just isn't up to par. Frank Rizzo, Variety. The issue here is the production's inability to live up to its star-making potential. Despite the reviews being more or less civil in their criticisms, the online reaction turned venomous. As Masseron recounts, I saw people not merely agreeing with what negative reviews there were, people were tearing her to pieces. And one comment saying, like the character she played on Impeachment, she really blows in Funny Girl. The producers were now left with a big decision: whether or not to replace Beanie Feldstein. In an article from the Daily Beast, a site with a factual grade of 66%, and which a source close to the show told me was falsehood upon falsehood, so take this with a grain of salt, one of the co-producers for the show claimed they wanted to get rid of Feldstein as soon as possible. Sales for the musical stayed pretty consistent through May, but then Tony season came around. While other revivals like The Music Man and Company received 6 and 8 nominations apiece, Funny Girl only received 1. And it was the only revival without a performance in the ceremony. This possibly stemmed from Beanie Feldstein being unable to attend due to testing positive for COVID just 5 days prior. With Feldstein forced to quarantine, her understudy, Julie Benko, assumed the role on Broadway. And her performance received enthusiastic reviews. On June 15th, the Funny Girl Twitter page announced Feldstein's return from COVID, but coupled it with the news that her last show would now be on September 25th, meaning her run would be ending 6 months early. A decision that the Daily Beast reports Feldstein made on her own. Now, Beanie Feldstein might not have attended the Tony Awards, but Lea Michele did. Reports differ here as to when the talks between Michele and producers actually began. Some say they didn't start until after Feldstein announced she'd be leaving the show, while others say they started right before the Tony Awards.
I commented that I thought the leak to Paul from Broadway.com was one of the most atrocious things I've ever seen.
Tell me more about that leak. What was the leak?
He just put up an Instagram story that had September 27th, ? Who knows? And nothing had come out. No one had teased anything. There was no gossip coming out of the show that was going to happen. And all of a sudden he just comes out of nowhere and does that. And then what I found interesting was after he does that, then you have the Showbiz 411 article, and so they're all kind of sourcing it, calling it sources, but you've got the editor-in-chief of Broadway.com saying that it's going to happen.
Either way, one thing appears certain. Lea Michele signed on to take over the role of Fanny Brice by June 20th, 2022. But everything hit the fan on June 30th, 2022, when gossip blog Gawker posted an article confirming the rumor, stating that Lea Michele would be taking over the role for 6 shows a week, while understudy Julie Benko would be covering the other 2. All of this in response to Feldstein's negative reviews. Following this, Feldstein took to her Instagram on July 10th, posting a screenshot from her Notes app announcing that she'd now be leaving the production even earlier. A few hours after Feldstein's Instagram post, the Funny Girl official Twitter account removed any content related to the actress from its social media accounts, and tweeted out that an exciting casting announcement would be coming the next day. And on July 11th, 2022, at 1 p.m. Eastern, it arrived. It was revealed that Tova Feldshuh would be taking over the role of Mrs. Brice, while Fanny Brice herself would now be played by Lea Michele. the announcement spurred up a huge divisive reaction. Given her history of toxic behavior, the casting of Lea Michele appeared to many that abusive behavior was being treated as a non-issue in return for bigger box office numbers. And for what it's worth, that might be the case. According to SeatGeek, the most expensive ticket for Funny Girl as of mid-July is $269. For Lea Michele's first performance, it's $2,350. In the days following Feldstein's Instagram post, gossip and rumors spread like wildfire. Rumors stating that Feldstein went rogue and that the Instagram post was put up without the producer's knowledge, that following the Gawker article, she cut off communication with the producing team, and that her post was basically her quitting after she'd already been fired. On July 14th, 2022, the producers released a statement in an attempt to set things straight, saying they weren't blindsided by Feldstein's post, and that they were aware of and in support of Feldstein's decision to leave at the end of July. The largest chronicling of this controversy comes from a bombshell interview with an alleged co-producer interviewing with the Daily Beast. But when asking my source that's directly involved in Funny Girl if there were any moments in the Daily Beast article that were factually incorrect, they responded by saying, "I can't go into it specifically, but really, you should assume that essentially all of it is false." As the speculation continues to run rampant, it's hard to tell right now what's fact or what's fiction. But there's one thing I know to be true about this entire Funny Girl situation. It sucks for everybody. It sucks for the cast, it sucks for the crew, it sucks for the fans. Given the fanciful worlds presented on Broadway stages, it's easy to get caught up in the bright lights and the roaring applause, distracting us from the fact that in reality, it's all just the tip of an iceberg that goes deeper than any of us can possibly imagine. It's ironic that a musical meant to highlight the fun world of show business inadvertently brought to the surface Broadway's ugly side, leaving us to examine it and acknowledge that the industry still has a lot of growing to do. The situation is also troubling in just how toxic the public and social media response has been to the entire Funny Girl production. In many ways, the musical's journey is forcing us to hold a mirror up to ourselves and ask, when does valid criticism turn into unwarranted personal attacks? This isn't the first casting controversy in Broadway history, and it definitely won't be the last. So click on this video to learn about an even bigger fiasco involving Andrew Lloyd Webber, Patti LuPone, a $1 million swimming pool, and see that really, not that much has changed.